The other day, my pet cockroach Alec Baldwin pulled me aside and said,
FilmLadd, you got Scott Adams canceled with that video, and you need to make amends before we have another on-set accident. And Lord knows I can't handle another one. The last one nearly ruined my career as a cockroach. All the other cockroaches shunned me. The Manhattan cocktail party invitations dried up. The paparochis were stalking me. Even Hillary Clinton stopped booty calling me. It was hell, FilmLadd, hell.
"Shut up, Alec Baldwin." In a past video, I discussed Scott's go-to concept that we all live in a simulation, not a real world. In it, I joked that he was wrong about being at the center of the simulation, and that, in fact, he was inside of my simulation. As part of the joke, I described Scott Adams as an aspiring Twitter user, and never once mentioned that he had created the popular syndicated comic strip Dilbert, as if Dilbert never existed. I didn't think that just a few weeks later, Dilbert would be dropped from syndication, almost as if it had never existed, and I really am sorry for mucking around with the simulation and accidentally canceling Scott Adams. So yeah, I feel bad about that, but in my defense, it was a funny coincidence. Now, if you don't believe that Scott's cancellation was due to my screwing around with the simulation, let's talk about the other reason being bandied about, namely that he spewed some controversy on his podcast and brought the woke eye of Sauron down upon his head.
Well, Rasmussen poll had a provocative little poll today. They said, do you agree or disagree with the statement, it's okay to be white? That was an actual question. Rasmussen asked, white and black voters, and probably others, do you disagree or agree with the statement, it's okay to be white? 26% of blacks said no. It's not okay to be white. 21% weren't sure. Add them together, that is 47% of black respondents were not willing to say it's okay to be white. That's like a real poll. This just happened.
Now, I don't want to be accused of taking Mr. Adams out of context, so I'm dropping the entire clip in here. It's a bit long, but I don't want to be an out-of-context clipper.
Did you have any idea? Would you have imagined that could have happened? So I realized, as you know, I've been identifying as black for a while, years now, because I like to be on the winning team, and I like to help. And I always thought, well, if you help the black community, that's sort of the biggest lever. You can find the biggest benefit. So I thought, well, that's the hardest thing and the biggest benefit. So I'd like to focus a lot of my life resources in helping black Americans. So much so that I started identifying as black to just be on the team I was helping. But it turns out that nearly half of that team doesn't think I'm okay to be white, which is, of course, why I identified as black, so I could be on the winning team for a while. But I have to say, this is the first political poll that ever changed my activities. I don't know that that's ever happened before. Normally you see a poll, you just look at it and you go, whatever. Oh, this is interesting what other people think. But as of today, I'm going to re-identify as white because I don't want to be a member of a hate group. I'd accidentally joined a hate group. So if nearly half of all blacks are not okay with white people, according to this poll, not according to me, according to this poll, that's a hate group. That's a hate group. And I don't want to have anything to do with them. And I would say, based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people. Just get the away. Wherever you have to go, just get away. Because there's no fixing this. This can't be fixed. Right? This can't be fixed. You just have to escape.
Scott Adams fancies himself a persuasion expert, but those powers failed him here. Maybe he did it on purpose as a kind of fatalistic, burn-it-all-down Joker move. Adams has gone through many trials and tribulations and has even threatened to end his life if his health, depression, and life illusions don't improve. It's hard to tell if he knew that he was basically committing career suicide here, or if it was something more subconscious in nature. If you've ever bought a compilation book of the Charlie Brown comic strip, or maybe John Byrne's artwork or Jack Kirby's, something that shows their work and how it progresses over time, you'll notice that there's a tendency by any artist towards stylization and simplification of their own work. I guess as humans get older, they tend to stylize their thinking patterns just to deal with the overwhelming quantity of memories and sensory inputs they've stored up over time. Sometimes, stylized thinking can be dangerous, and in this case, it certainly was dangerous for the Dilbert comic strip, which is not to say that Adams and his Dilbert strip deserved it. But there is a difference between talking about deserving destruction and advising taking a safer path. Maybe Adams should not have worn that short skirt and gotten drunk and then gone up to that basketball player's loft to admire his etchings. Ironically, all of this may have been just over a misinterpretation. After all, the results of that Rasmussen poll may have just meant that respondents hated that particular phrase, which has been used more and more by some conservatives. The liberal side of the country objects to that reflexively. But even assuming that his interpretation of the poll is correct, he could have gone for something other than this rant. Unfortunately, as I'm sure you know, over time people gather up enemies that wait in the shadows to pounce. And in this case, Adams gave them a kill shot with some over-stylized thinking. Look, it's been said before, but bears repeating. The United States was the first and only nation founded as an idea on an ideal. A republic with a constitution endeavoring to treat all men as created equal by God and before the eyes of the law. Yes, our nation has consistently failed to live up to that ideal, especially in the past in regards to slavery. Then again, in the year 1776, every nation on earth practiced slavery. Slavery was the norm, probably since the beginning of humanity. But even so, you have to admit that everyone else was doing it is no excuse. Even when the United States paid for its original sin with a bloody civil war, we can argue that it's still paying in ways large and small, terrible and terrifying over and over. Maybe it will never fully pay off that original sin completely. I hope that isn't the case. All of which makes the reaction of Scott Adams even more depressing. Maybe we live in a world that resembles Gotham City on its worst day, but not by choice. The American spirit aspires to something higher, more noble, transcendent, something more like this.
Does I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification. One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted. And every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is a faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning, my country, tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing.
Maybe it's cliche to quote Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but there it is anyway. I know there are factions out there, both conservative and liberal, that will attack me for quoting him for such sentiments. It's old-fashioned, it's colonialist, it's whatever. Screw 'em. I don't want my kids, grandkids, great-grandkids fighting others over race for all eternity like that Star Trek episode.
It is obvious to the most simple-minded that Loci is of an inferior breed.
The obvious visual evidence, Commissioner, is that he is of the same breed as yourself.
Are you blind, Commander Spock? Well, look at me. Look at me.
You're black on one side and white on the other.
I am black on the right side.
I fail to see the significant difference.
Loci is white on the right side. All of his people are white on the right side.
This episode is over 55 years old. Why the hell is it still relevant?
And you see how this killer repays you, as he repays all his benefactors.
Benefactors? He's a liar. He raided our homes, tore us from our families, herded us together like cattle, and then sold us as slaves.
They were savages, Captain. We took them into our hearts, our homes. We educated them.
Yes, just education enough to serve the master race.
You were the product of our love. You repaid us with murder.
Why should a slave show mercy to the enslaver?
Slaves? That was changed thousands of years ago. You were freed.
Freed? Were we free to be men? Free to be husbands and fathers? Free to live our lives in equality and dignity?
Yes, you were free if you knew how to use your freedom. You were free enough to slaughter and to burn all the things that had been built.
I tried to break the chains of 100 million people. My only crime is that I failed. To that I do plead guilty.
There is an order in things. He asks for utopia in a day.
It's got to stop, or else it will stop us.
Captain, we are within scanning range of Chiron.
Check out, put it on the screen. Extreme magnification. What are you picking up?
Several very large cities, uninhabited. Extensive traffic systems, barren of traffic. Lower animals and vegetation encroaching on the cities. No sapient life forms registering at all, Captain. There is no evidence of natural disaster, yet there are vast numbers of unburied corpses in all cities.
I mean, all the people are dead.
All dead, Captain. They have annihilated each other. Totally.
My people? All dead?
Yes, Commissioner. All of them.
No one alive?
None at all, sir.
Your band of murderers!
Just this morning, Scott Adams on Twitter explained his cancellation like this.
I've been asked to summarize my current situation, so you don't need to watch hours of live stream to understand the nuance. Summary. Me. Avoid people who have been primed by the media to be racist against you. Media. Racist. Public. Cancel him. The end.
Which is probably just too simplistic, too stylized to be satisfactory. Maybe Adams thought he could bring a better world into existence by talking that way. But when you're still trying to explain yourself a week later, it probably wasn't that effective. It seems as if those both for and against Adams want collective punishment in some form or other. Collective punishment is outlawed by the Geneva Convention and considered a war crime and crime against humanity. And for good reason. You are only responsible for what you have done as an individual. You should not be enslaved because your great-great-grandparents were slaves, nor should you be punished for the slaveholding by your great-great-grandparents. Maybe we can mess around with the simulation a little bit more and generate some absolution for our nation. It's not likely, but then again I can still dream, can't I? Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.